Okay, so welcome everyone to the second part of Universal Law, the framework, how things work in the higher realms with Sanat Kumara. Today is January the 13th, Friday the 13th, and let's just get started. So we're going to jump right into the teachings. Okay, so here we are. This is part 2. I think we'll just quickly go through the whole thing because there's not actually that many slides, and we did stop and ask a lot of questions last time. So if you do have a question, just put your hand up and we'll so we can address it. So this channeling was from April the 22nd, 2013, An Hour with an Angel radio show with Steve as the host. And Steve says, as you said, we're awakening at this time, going through a very rapid awakening process, and we're also preparing to build Nova Earth, or some of us are actually building Nova Earth, and so do tutor us. What is the most important for us to know on universal law as we approach this awakening and this work? So Raj says, let's talk about a couple of these laws. Let us speak because we have been discussing the nature of universal law. Now what we will do is talk about one of the laws, which is purpose, sacred purpose. And you can see it's connected to the root chakra here for us to remember that we're embodying the laws. That's why they're embedded. These teachings are embedded in the colors within the chakras. So when you sit still and meditate, often the teachings will come forth. As you are coming to address your divine qualities and your vasanas, it is important to know and to connect with and understand the universal law of purpose. So let me explain again, brief, succinct, and I will absolutely welcome your questions because it will feel very familiar to you. So now you can see I connected purpose with Gaia because we're all here to help this planet, humanity, basically come to balance, because Gaia is already balanced. She's well on her way for ascension. It's really just the humans. So now, did anyone have a question about this slide? Nope. Okay. All energy that emerges from the heart of one in whatever form has sacred purpose, expression, direction, and that is also connected to your completion and continuity. So the crown, so he's just talked about the sacred, the root chakra, and now the crown. Now, the sacred purpose law is the understanding in the universal sense that the purpose of all existence is to love, to be of joy, and to find your way back home. But in that and within that, there are many clauses to this law. Is what is your sacred purpose? How does your purpose? And you and I, my friend, and particularly you and Michael, have had this conversation about alignment of purpose. How does your purpose, your expression in this lifetime as a fragment of your broader journey align with the law of love? Now you can see I've used yellow for alignment because that's more connected to the stillness of the father energy. Expression is usually always movement connected to the mother. And then sacred purpose, I've colored them as they work with the chakras. And everything that green really is all about love. So you can see that's why the colors are that way. And they connect with this, the tri-flame within the heart chakra, with the heart chakra being green, the blue of the mother, the pink of the self, and the yellow of the father. And there's that silver truth. So there's a little bit of silver embedded in our pink. That's our truth. That's a really good place to meditate. Yes, Darren.
Well, I just find it really interesting that what it says in the first line, that all energy has sacred purpose. I found that fascinating.
Yes, absolutely. All energy that emerges from the heart of one. So it's very full of intent. Intent and purpose. Yes. Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah. Okay. It's the energy of the old belief systems, really. That is what's not of love, and then it goes on to create institutions and situations that are not of love. So it's basically a human creation, anything that's not of love on this planet. Okay. So that is the starting point of understanding this journey. What is my sacred purpose? Then there is the law of intent, and it is aligning your entire being, all realms, all dimensions, all realities, all experience, all thought, all emotion with the intent. And you can see that intention is connected to the pubic, which is right above the root. It is the power of intent, and the mother's intent is that you know and experience love and return home. That is the law of intent. So knowing, understanding, I found, is more like a movement of ideas, and knowing is very still. So when you're in that golden chamber in the heart, that will often they will fly us in there in the meditation, that's your deep knowing. Understanding is more the movement of the mother. Okay. How does it translate into your world, into your experience in building Nova Earth? So if I may use you as an example, and he's talking to Steve, your sacred purpose is very closely aligned with the Divine Mother and Archangel Michael. It is to be a communicator of truth and to assist the collective in their awakening, in their understanding of who they are, what their potential is, and to be a vessel of communication for this side. And actually, this is what we're all here to do too. We're all here to assist. We're all here to understand who we are, what our potential is, and to be a vessel of communication for this side, for the company of heaven, for your star brothers and sisters, and for humanity. So your sacred purpose is a communicator and a conduit. The law of intent, as it applies to you in that purpose, is how do you fulfill that sacred purpose with intention that is clearly aligned with your sacred purpose. Okay, that's beautiful. Okay, if you, for example, and this is not you, and so I use a far out example, if you choose in that free will zone, and the law, the framework of the law is to help you align rather than to make choices that take you away from love. There are many ways of getting active, but if your intention is, all right, I'm well positioned to be a communicator, I know my sacred purpose, but then you say, what I'm going to do is control the flow of information. I'm going to allow disinformation. I'm going to ignore what I know to be true. I'm going to not work as fully as I might. And work has need to be always in balance. That is the reference point. That is the still point. But if your intention is not in alignment with your sacred purpose, then you are not in alignment with the law. So whenever you're confused about anything, it's a good idea to sit in the heart in the still point. And as Steve has told us many times, that is a place of balance in those golden chambers within the heart, in that still point. And that's a good place to actually call on Sanat Kumara too. So, and he will show up and help. By finding that the communications are much quicker now, it's much easier to understand what they're saying when you do call on them. Okay, so every intention, big, small, and in between, the intention to live a life of purity, of grace. So remember that purity is that white, and there is a chakra right above the crown that's very much the purity chakra. And purity is all about loving everyone, especially who we perceive as our opponents, and also active participation in the divine plan. So the intention to live a life of purity, of grace, and grace is knowing how cherished we are. It's that it's really deep self-love and self-worth of self. Okay, but that is reflected into action. It is reflected into the qualities of kindness, of truth speaking and sharing, and tenderness and mercy, cooperation and compassion. So if your intention then does not translate into the practicality, not only of your actions, but your feelings and your thoughts, because there are many, many on earth who, for example, will do what appears to be the right thing, but they do it because they want to appear to be kind or generous or thoughtful or sincere, but the intent is not there. What they're doing is they're working from an ego place or they are taking action because they think they have to, but in fact they are angry. What is your expression? Mad as hell. So that intention just went awry, did it not? So I know that when I was hiding behind not wanting to explain about what had happened with all the money in my life, that on some level I was very angry about it. So that makes sense where he says, what is your expression? Mad as hell. Underneath everything I was. Okay. So, and then he goes on, or I am doing it because I'm afraid if I don't do it, I'm going to get in trouble, either in trouble with the law, with my wife, with my husband, with my children, with my neighbor, or with God. Well, that is not good enough. That is not the alignment with the law. So the emotional component, the mental component, you cannot think, well, I will do this so I will be in alignment, but really, I really think this is a bunch of hogwash. No, everything, all parts of you, and that is why you come to the still point of your heart and your knowing, it has to be in alignment. Now, do we force it? Are there punitive ramifications if you do not adhere to the law? Well, the punitive ramifications, and you've seen many, is that life doesn't work. It is not joyful, it is not loving, it is not sustainable, it is not rewarding, and it does not feel good. And you see this every day on the streets of every country. You see this in the quiet of homes where people isolate in desperation. So that's so interesting. Yeah. Okay. So the ramifications aren't what comes from on high. The concept of punishment, of judgment, is a human construct, not a divine one. But are there ramifications? Yes, because what you are doing individually and collectively is hurting yourself, making yourself miserable. Now, I know as I say this as your tutor, there are some of you who are listening this night who are saying, well, that's terrible. He's putting it all on us. No, my beloved friends, I am not putting it all on you. What I am saying is there is a body of understanding that if you adhere to, you will fly free. So it is part of the collective education and evolution because you have decided to come as one, even those who are in the, shall we say, the undecided group. So this is the law of intent. So we want to align our intentions every day with the laws and with love, basically. Okay. Then Steve asked, can you distinguish the difference between the divine qualities and the universal law? And Raj says the universal law, think of it as the framework which, if adhered to and followed, allows the divine qualities to thrive. They are completely interconnected. So think of it as the structure. The law is the steel girders, the 2x4s, the foundation, and the qualities are the covering and the innards of the building. So the qualities are called the blessings and virtues also. And I've found that the blessings are more of a movement energy and the virtues are more a stillness. So with the qualities being the covering and the innards makes complete sense. And the Raj says you cannot separate them because when you are in the purity of adherence to the law, then you're practicing, you're living the law and the divine qualities. You cannot separate these out. If you have one, you have the other. And so when you look at the chakra system, there's a law and usually one or two divine qualities as well that go along in each chakra. It is an understanding and you're hungry, not simply you, dear heart, but all of you, you're hungry for more information. How do we construct Nova Earth in a way that is truly is different? So if you say, well, if we all practice the divine qualities, then we will be there. And to this I say, yes, you will be. But if you want to understand how it works, how those divine qualities reflect to the framework laid out by the Mother, Father, One, then this is how. And then Steve asked about sources, and he said the law of one, the law of love yourself and love your neighbor. And I believe, isn't that what Jesus said, Steve? Yeah, Jesus said that. Okay. We are,
Yes.
yeah, okay. Love you. What
Love
is
your neighbor as yourself.
right? Okay.
Love the Lord thy God with all your heart and all your mind and all your soul, and love your neighbor as yourself.
Yes. Okay. So it's good practice. Really good practice. I have a beautiful Greek lady that's a neighbor. I practice that with her all the time. Yes. Okay. So now, okay. So the law of one, the law of love yourself and love your neighbor. We are not talking about biblical truth here. The law of the divine qualities. There are many, 4 agreements, 5 agreements. Anything written by the Dalai Lama explains this journey and understanding. So it is not that the information has not been out there. It is more that the human beings have not been eager to adopt this blueprint as the blueprint upon which everything else is formulated, because we didn't know. Yes, okay. These are just in the end thoughts in the mind of God, are they not? So this is what Steve asks, and then Raj says, it is the thoughts or the existence. That is correct. It is not what you think of as random thoughts. It is a construct of creation. And Steve, is it correct to say that they come only from the mind of God, or does the angelic realm play a role in the formulation? No, the angelic realm does not play a role. The angelic realm adheres to universal law. They may have different emphases and different laws that they look at because they are operating in a different sphere, and therefore they are, shall we say, blessed or visited with different thoughts from the source one. But no, these are laid down, given, shared, however you wish to conceive of this, directly from one. And then Steve says, so the plan is for us all to return home, as you've called it, through realizing our true identity as God, and the laws are there to equip us, to orient us in this journey. And Raj says to orient you. It is like what you say, so many of you in your vehicles have MapQuest or GPS. This is your universal GPS, dear heart. That's a great metaphor. Okay. There is the law of unification, which we're going to start next Wednesday. And that is part of what you're working on in building Nova Earth. The unification is the deep understanding that all things everywhere throughout the universe are unified as one. So this law is actually connected to the heart chakra. We just did attachment and detachment to the chakra right below the heart. Okay, so as you are transversing and making your journey, you are also doing so through that interconnectedness, not only to the heart and the essence of one, but to everything. That is why this decision by the human collective to go forward as one in many ways in my role as planetary logos makes sense, because it adheres to that law of unification. It is in a tacit and very active understanding that you are united, that one does not travel alone. So while you think or feel or know or believe that you are on this journey back, you're also on this journey with everything. There is only one grid. That is the law. How else would you travel? You cannot be jumping from grid to grid to grid to grid. Now, does it stretch? Are there times when you access a different portion of the grid by changing dimensions or going through wormholes or black holes or white holes? Yes, but it is still one. So this is more travel of that our star family does through the white holes and the black holes to get places faster. But it is still one. And Steve says, but the grid, just by calling it a grid, you have distinguished it from, say, all or one or God. And Raj said the totality of the grid is God. And that was a very important question. Mhm. Steve, do you want to elaborate on that at all?
I don't think I can, Kathleen, because I still don't really feel that I understand the grid.
Mhm.
It is obviously not physical.
No.
So, it's not a case of describing what it's made of, or
No.
so I really haven't wrapped my head around it.
Okay, so just, I think it's the grid is like understanding the laws being the framework. So it's just
Mhm.
another word for, and it's very much connected to the father energy, whereas the
Mhm.
divine qualities are more movement oriented, like the mother, where the father is
Mhm.
more still. It's the framework.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And the laws are very basic, sacred purpose, intent, balance, change, give and receive, attachment and detachment, unification, unity,
Mhm.
transmutation. So it's a real framework of how to be.
Mhm. Yes, indeed.
And then combine that with the divine qualities and understandings of the dimensions, and we're there.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's that simple.
Mhm.
So yeah, okay, so let's go on and we'll see what the next one is. Okay, so Steve says, how can we work with the universal laws? And Raj says, go to your still point and simply call me. So that's the simplest thing to do. Fly into your heart through that pinprick of light and practice sitting in those golden chambers, basically, or sitting just in your heart chakra, however you do that, in that stillness. And I know it was very interesting because I felt a lot about fairies today, and I could see myself sitting in my golden chambers on a swing. It was like a golden swing. And when I got really still, the swing was still. So it was actually a very good practice to watch myself settle the swing into stillness. And then I was just very still in my heart. So
Mm.
you can use imagination in there. It doesn't have to be in it. Yeah, just go with your imagination, whatever comes. So then Raj says, practicing your divine qualities. And when you're practicing certain qualities, they more naturally align with different laws, with different thoughts, with different expressions, shall we say, of God, of one, but it is already within you. So working with the law is being in your heart consciousness and being discerning and considering. So one of the simplest things I've ever heard about ascension is for all of us to be kind to ourselves and therefore kind to everyone. And so it's that's why the laws are called the laws of love too. The more we are in that kindness to each other, that community, that really is our ascension. And I've also heard, I think it's Archangel Gabriel said, a society is not very evolved when we have people sleeping on the streets and we have, addiction issues and that. So it's bringing everyone to having their own sacred space and honoring each being, whether they need treatment or whatever it is, to bring us all into that oneness. You live in a world, and I distinguish myself, not the planet, but a world that has become very busy. Now, it is not that you need to judge busy as good or bad, it is indifferent, but in that busyness, busy is a very good place for ego to live. And in that busyness and in the feeling of self-imposed struggle, because busyness is a form of struggle, it is not a sense of smoothness, it is self-imposed. You do not take time always to discern, is what I am doing directing me to my core essence and to myself, to my I am presence and the I am presence. It is as simple as that. So I think that's why he says, go to your still point. And yeah, and even call him, definitely call him. It's this is part of his job, so he likes to come and talk to us. Mhm. Now, does anyone have a question about that slide? No. Okay. I like that he brought in the I am presence there too, because working with I am mantras bring you very quickly into the center. Mhm. Yeah. Okay. When you stop and ask the question, the guidance is already there. And I've been finding that that statement is so true right now. Because your beauty, your heart, your soul, however you conceive of that knowingness, is divinely intelligent. It knows, and in the knowing, you can shift from busy to being. And being does not mean that you are not taking action and building Nova Earth. You are, and it is well underway. I am happy to say. So, yeah, stop and ask the question. The guidance is already there. The reason the guidance is already there is because our guides are with us 24/7. And our universal self is getting closer. So our higher selves are very close. And we're in energy now that there's no separation. There's very little separation between us and the higher realms. Okay. Okay, I think there's one more. Steve says, what do you see happening, Raj, that you're most happy with? And Raj says, we look forward to the human collective decision to adhere to the higher laws of love. That is another name for universal law, to adhere to the meaningful existence and the truth of who you are. Now, this is already being expressed by so many of you, and trust me, that brings me incredible joy. Do not underestimate how well you are doing. And Steve says, thank you. It's been a wonderful talk with you. Thank you for joining us. And Raj says, go with my love. Farewell. So yeah, this has been an incredible channeling. Thank you, Steve, for being the host. Good questions. Yeah, really good questions. Okay, so I think I'm pretty sure, yep, that is that. So let's jump out. And there we are. Yeah, that was a really good one, Steve.
Thank you.
We learned a lot.
Yeah.
It made it very clear, these concepts of trying to figure out the framework, the laws, how the divine qualities, were, it helped with understanding how it all works together.
I'd love to go from having a smattering of knowledge about the universal laws to really understanding them, practicing them, and my excuse is time.
Well, even just coming, because I find even just doing this a couple days a week is enough, because there's so much information that comes from each of these channelings to incorporate it. I mean, it's taken me this long to even partly be able to explain them. And since 2013, that's 10 years. So yeah, so even just gently incorporating them a couple times a week, I think is a really good way to learn them.
Very good.
And as it goes along, you'll find you can just spout them off. And you know a little bit about each one, that you can call on them when you're working with energy, basically.
Yeah, I really like how it explains how important the laws are, for us to live in harmony and peace and joy and so forth, And if we don't live by the law, we have miserable lives.
Yeah, absolutely. It just doesn't, they just don't work.
I think it's a difference between floundering and being in the stream, so to speak.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. And then of course there's you know, the laws really don't talk about nutrition or exercise or breathing. There's quite a bit about breathing, but so and neither do the divine qualities really. So there's a whole body of knowledge, you know, just to keep the physical form that we learn ourselves to keep the
Yeah.
physical form.
Yeah, I think that would be all included in love yourself. You know, if you're not taking care of your body, you don't love yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I mean, these are the mental, emotional constructs to create a happy life. But then there's so much more to it too.
Yeah, well, like it said somewhere, there's a whole bunch of sub clauses under each one of these laws. So as you dig deeper into it, you can go a long ways down.
Mm-hmm.
Probably.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, I mean, it just keeps expanding. No matter how many times I look at, each of these laws, there's more, or the divine qualities and the dimensions, there's more. It just pops out that I couldn't see before. It's just like there's layers of information embedded in the channelings. Mhm. Or else I just wasn't ready to incorporate a piece or something. I don't know, but there's always more.
No, I believe there are many levels of interpretation and any channeling from a higher being.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, just the way they can organize it, and I don't know, the way Steve asked the questions, it felt like some of the questions are like you're channeling the questions.
Oh, quite probably. Oh,
Yeah.
wouldn't be surprised about that at all.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because it all makes sense. Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Whenever I was interviewing the Divine Mother, I kept having the feeling that I was asking the question she wanted me to ask.
Yes.
Oh, I'm so happy you asked that question.
Oh, I do know that when I started calling in and asking questions about the laws, because it took me a long time to even have enough courage to call in. Yeah, the questions were really guided.
Uh-huh.
I had been making this question for days beforehand.
Mhm. I can't believe that we don't have anything like that anymore. And that was then, this is now, and nobody else is doing a similar program, or like all this knowledge is waiting to be shared, and
Yeah,
we're not doing anything with it.
I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't understand that either.
I disagree that it's that it's somehow not being shared. I think that we share it within ourselves. Maybe the questions that we asked and so forth are now about taking what we've learned and helping.
Mhm.
Yeah, applying it.
Yeah, that's right, exactly. I think there's a lot of channeling out there, but is more on a practical level right now. How can we apply it today to, say, clear up our monkey mind or whatever, or how to get clear on, different issues within our lives?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, I do know today when I was doing all that, they were working on me. I was invoking, because it was the work all up in here. So, and I was pulling cards too to ask, okay, what are we doing? And the cards were telling me. So it was the law of attraction and repulsion. It was elimination. It was balance. Yeah. So then when I saw it in the cards, I was like, okay, let's invoke. And then the energy would get really intense. Mhm. Yeah. So that's a fun way. If you're confused, just pull out my little deck and start asking, okay, show me in the cards,
Mhm.
and they will.
Okay.
Yeah. Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah. And there was one other thing I was going to say. I can't remember now.
Well, the only dietary or any other advice I've ever had from Michael was that I would talk about an issue in that area, and he would fairly consistently say, you transmute that. You know, I would say, I want to drink more healthy drinks, you know, less sugar or something. Oh, you transmute that. So,
Okay, so
you
yeah,
know, we're all angels, right?
yes, okay, so that you can intentionally invoke the law of transmutation.
Mhm.
So say you're drinking something that is lots of sugar, you can say,
Mhm.
I invoke the law of transmutation. Yeah, one of your Starbucks things, yeah. Yeah, and then, but also I believe too, if sugar is really affecting you, then you should technically cut it out, like, you know, like that's part of our self-love too.
Yeah.
I'm not aware of it affecting me, but others are aware, shall we say.
Okay, yeah. But sugar is like it's like when it was first created, even a tiny, like a teaspoon, not even a teaspoon would affect people like cocaine. Like it was very potent.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I don't know. I personally I don't eat a lot of sugar now. I grew up, you know, my family, there was a lot of sugar, cookies and canned fruit and that kind of stuff. But I don't tend to eat much sugar now.
Yeah. Well, I don't eat sugar anymore either. And I feel, my feeling on it is that I would rather spend my energy on sending out love or doing whatever else, you know, rather than transmuting sugar. I think it's a much better use of my energy.
That's an interesting way of putting it.
Well, you know how some people like, I don't even know what they call that. Say savory. They like savory, and some people like salty. And I unfortunately like sugar. I have a sweet tooth. But as saying that, I don't want to give you the impression I do nothing but consume large quantities of sugar. I don't.
But that is probably an addiction. You know, sugar is addictive, so you're probably addicted to sugar.
And I think it's also, I've heard diabetes, like people that struggle with diabetes, it's a, they're looking for like the sweetness in life. Something to do with and I'm sure that relates back to, you know, maybe not being hugged when we were little or something. I don't know. Like, you know, the sweetness, the love, yeah, I don't know.
Could be.
The
I
self-love.
had that confirmed by, I can't remember who it was, whether it was Yeshua, but somebody said to me that, yes, diabetes is caused by not embracing the sweetness of life. So
And maybe not receiving that as a child.
could be.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That would
I'm
fit.
not sure about that.
What did you say, Steve?
Well, that would fit. I mean, that would fit with my father anyways. Not so much with my mother.
Yeah. Yeah, so much of it goes back to what happened when we were little.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's
The
good
twig
to
is
be
bent.
aware. Yeah, it's good to be aware. I've been dealing with feelings around money ever since I can remember. So it's no wonder that you know, it's been a money journey for me.
Does
And
it go back?
actually, I did get a message from Archangel Gabriel like years ago, part of my sacred purpose. I'm here to transmute money. And that came directly from the Divine Mother to me. I had said something to her, what would you like me to do? Because you know how we all volunteered to be here, and we all said we can do this, that, and the other thing. Gabriel said I'd said something about what would you like me to do, and the mother said there needs to be a divine feminine energy to help with the transmutation of money. Yeah. So
Interesting.
yeah. And you know what? just recently in the last week or so, I was like remembering that and saying, how are we doing on that part of the mission? And all hell broke loose last week, this week. It's been ongoing since Monday. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that makes a lot of sense, to transmute money from, the patriarchal system to one where the feminine energy puts out love and kindness and support in that way. Huh?
Yeah, it does make sense. Yeah. Community. And it's interesting that it was done right before the law of unification, which is all about community, us being in community. So I don't think there's any accident.
No,
Everything is so divinely timed.
yeah, not one.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. Okay, well, that was such a good little class. Thank you. Any more questions or comments about anything?
I'm just really grateful that we can talk about this stuff and that we can help other people with our knowledge.
Yeah, so the recordings are getting watched. I guess there's lots of people that can't make the times to do the class, but so this is going out.
Good.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, and thank you to the
Thank
group.
you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kathleen. Yeah.
You're so welcome.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to stop the recording right now.